Hello and welcome to another Big Orbit Cards unboxing video. I'm Chris and today we'll be unboxing Eldritch Moon intro packs. This one is Untamed Wild, the red-green one, because there's always a red-green intro pack, right? So let's crack it open. The idea of this deck is there's lots of wolves and druids. So it's pretty much probably going to be an aggro deck. So there's two booster packs inside there, and we've got our 60 card deck. Wow, the easy open actually worked for once. Although now it's attached to me. So you've got your quick reference guide, which is very, very useful if you're just starting out, or even for advanced players if you're kind of forgetting which phase comes, before which other phase. Anyway, so we have Assembled Alphas is the promo card, so it's different artwork to the normal one, and it's actually very nice artwork as well. A couple of wolves there, not four, yeah, all howling and stuff. So yeah, this is a 6 mana 5/5, and whenever Assembled Alphas blocks or becomes blocked by a creature, it deals 3 damage to that creature and 3 damage to that creature's controller. So pretty good if you can get the 6 mana to cast it. Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty solid card. Silver for Partisan, which is Shadows over Innistrad card rather than Eldritch Moon. But it's a 3 mana 2/2 with Trample, and whenever a wolf or werewolf you control becomes the target of an instant or sorcery spell, put a 2/2 green wolf creature token onto the battlefield. So this is a really, really nice card. You can use it essentially, like you buff it and just get a bunch of extra wolves. There was also a great deck with Zada, Hedron, Grinder, where you target Zada with a spell and he essentially buffs your entire board, which targets all the wolves, which then triggers this, which spawns a bunch of wolves on top of your wolves, which spawns more wolves, and so on and so on and so on, until you end up with a whole board full of wolves. So those are the 2 rares basically. Then you got, for some reason, a vampire in a werewolf deck. Interesting. So 1 mana 1/2, and it gets +2/+0 until end of turn if you pay 3. It's actually pretty good for a 1 mana card anyway. More vampires. So Fury Blade Vampire, 2 mana 1/2 with Trample, and you can discard a card at the beginning of combat to give it +3/+0. Pretty good if you got Madness. Noose Constrictor, yep, 2 mana 2/2 with Reach, and you discard a card to give it +1/+1 until end of turn. It's pretty nice actually. Just generally a 2 mana 2/2 is always good. The fact it has Reach, it's useful. So Primal Druid, when it dies you can search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library. For a 2 mana, essentially Defender, it's pretty good. Quilled Wolf, 2 mana 2/2, and in the late game, if you've got the mana spare, you can buff it to give it +4/+4 to make it a 6/6. It's alright. It has utility, so it doesn't punish you for drawing it in the late game. Brazen Wolves, 3 mana 2/3, and whenever it attacks, it becomes a 4/3. Pretty nice card. Howlpack Wolf, can't block unless you control another wolf or werewolf. So 3 mana 3/3. Mad Prophet, haste. You can tap him on the turn he comes in because of haste to discard a card, then draw a card. So again, good Madness enabler for 4 mana. Voldaren Duelist, Somberwald Stag, it's a pretty nice card actually, so 5 mana 4/3, when it enters the battlefield you may have it fight target creature you don't control. So essentially just, you just throw him down and kill off an enemy creature, just straight up. Pretty useful. And then you got Mountains and Forests, your land. Lightning Axe, such a useful card. So you can, it's either 1 mana, deal 5 damage if you discard a card, or 6 mana, deal 5 damage without discarding a card. Rush of Adrenaline, very useful card. Target creature gets +2/+1 against trample. Prey upon, target creature you control fights target creature you don't control. So if you've got any of these big creatures, like your 6/6 after you've pumped it up, you can pay the extra 1 mana to have it fight something else to just kill it, and then attack afterwards. So pretty useful. Magmatic Chasm, creatures without flying can't block this turn. Clip wings, yeah, great way around Westvale Abbey when it flips. So yeah, each opponent sacrifices a creature with flying. Uncaged Fury, target creature gets +1/+1 against double strike until end of turn. Pretty nice for 3 mana. Clear Shot, 3 mana, target creature you control gets +1/+1 until end of turn, and it deals damage equal to its power to target creature you don't control. I actually quite like this card. Blood Mist, an enchantment for 4 mana. At the beginning of each combat on your turn, a target creature you control gains double strike. So 4 mana to permanently give something double strike, not too bad. Oh, and you can change which creature that is, by the way, on each turn. Wolfkin Bond, enchant creature, when it enters the battlefield, put 2/2 green wolf onto the battlefield, and enchanted creature gets +2/+2. So this goes well with this dude, because you're spawning extra wolves, which you can then cast your buff spells on. More Wolfkin Bonds and Spreading Flames, so 7 mana, deal 6 damage divided as you choose among any number of target creatures. So sort of like a board wipe, sort of, not guaranteed. Yeah, it's an interesting deck, sort of typical green-red, aggro-y, I think. Yeah. So the idea between the intro packs, the idea behind the intro packs, I should say, is you have your 60-card deck, and then you get your 2 booster packs as well. So you're supposed to play a couple of games with your starter deck, and then you open the booster packs, and you can build into your deck and learn a bit more about deck building, and you can try and make your deck a bit more consistent or better by with the cards that you pull. So let's have a look at what we get to see if there's anything useful for this particular deck. So we're looking for red and green things specifically. So backward survivalists, 4 mana, 4/3, and if you have Delirium, it gets +1/+1 and has Trample. So pretty useful. There's not too much in this deck that discards cards though, so Delirium would be quite hard to get unless you're specifically going for it. Otherworldly Outburst, so target creature gets +1/+0 until end of turn. When it dies this turn, put a 3/2 colorless Eldrazi horror creature token onto the battlefield. So you're essentially paying 1 mana to hopefully pump up your creature enough to kill your opponent's creature, while still having your creature die so that you get the token. But if you target a werewolf with it, or a wolf, you would spawn an extra wolf with the silver fur partisan. Bloodbriar, whenever you sacrifice another permanent, put a 1/1 counter on it. Scour the Lab, Vampire Cutthroat, and Deploy the Gatewatch, a mythic. So, this is an interesting card actually. So, it's quite a high mana cost, 6 mana, and it's sorcery speed. So no Collected Company shenanigans. Look at the top 7 cards of your library, put up to 2 Planeswalker cards from among them onto the battlefield. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So this card is actually, it's either going to be really, really good or really, really bad. Because of the legendary rule for a start. So if you find if you find 2 of the same Planeswalker in your top 7 cards, you can't put them both in. You can only put 1 of them in. Or if you already have a Planeswalker out and you find the same one, you can't put him in because of the legendary rule, or her. Otherwise, it could potentially win you games. Because you're paying 6 mana to, you know, just get a couple of planeswalkers out onto the field, which could be like 4, 5, 6 mana planeswalkers by themselves. So an interesting card. Not one that you put in this deck, but still an interesting card. You could trade it in to get more cards that would fit into your deck, at least, because it is mythic. So let's see what we get in the second pack. So Make Mischief, deals 1 damage to target creature or player, put a 1/1 red devil creature token onto the battlefield, which has, when it dies, deal 1 damage to target creature or player. So 3 mana to get a 1/1 body, and definitely deal 1 damage, and potentially deal a second 1 damage. It's alright. Woodland Patrol, 3 mana, 3/2 with Vigilance. Could potentially fit in this deck if you felt you needed the extra 3-drop creatures. Borrowed Hostility, so 1 mana, and you choose one of those 2 or both if you pay the escalate cost. So target creature gets +3/+0 until the end of turn, or target creature gains first strike until the end of turn. So this could potentially go in there, especially if you've got the sort of partisan on the field, and will then be able to spawn more wolves by buffing your guys. Graph Rats. So this, we have lots of cool flip cards. Oh dear. So I'm going to skip Graph Rats and go straight to Bruna, actually, because I can tell you about the flip cards with Bruna. So Bruna is a double-sided card. She's 7 mana for a 5/7, and she's a legendary angel horror. When you cast Bruna the Fading Light, you may return a target angel or human creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. And she has flying and vigilance. And also she has meld. So she melds with Gisela the Broken Blade. I mean, it's a little expensive, like 7 mana, but the effect of actually just immediately getting a card from your graveyard back into the battlefield is pretty good, and the stats are good with that as well. And then she flips into a double-sided card, which turns into a giant card. So I think on Graph Rats, actually, it's the top half of one of them. So that would be like a top half of one of the double cards, and that was the Graph Rats, which melds with something else. And she becomes a Brizella. So she's a legendary Eldrazi Angel after she's been taken over by Emrakul. She has flying, first strike, vigilance, and lifelink for a 9/10. And the best thing is your opponent can't cast spells with converted mana cost 3 or less. So if you've made it into the late game against an aggro deck, your opponent has just been entirely shut down. It's pretty funny. Unlikely to happen in too many games, but still pretty funny. So that's Bruna. That's actually a really nice one to get. I'm kind of happy about that. In an intro pack. In fact, that's so far a mythic and a decent rare from these intro packs. So then you got Weaver of Lightning. 3 mana, 1/4 with reach. And whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, it deals 1 damage to target creature an opponent controls. Could potentially go in this deck. There's not too much synergy, but it could still go in. Lashreed Lurker, Whispers of Emrakul, and Bedlam Reveler. So it's an 8 mana 3/4, which is ridiculously expensive, but it costs 1 less to cast for each instant and sorcery card in your graveyard. So if you've got a bunch of instants and sorceries, fair enough, play it. If you don't, because it's just bad for that mana cost. It has prowess, so whenever you cast a non-creature spell, it gets +1/+1 until the end of turn. And when it enters the battlefield, you discard your hand and then draw 3 cards. So it's a pretty good card draw too. So yep, those are the packs. Some interesting stuff actually. Take the double face out. Yep, so the deck seems pretty interesting. lots of creatures, and you just buff those creatures, and kind of typical green-red aggro. And you could take some of the stuff from these packs and maybe kind of make it a little bit better. But still, so remember, you can buy and sell all the cards you've seen here and the others from the Eldritch Moon set on our website, bigorbitcards.co.uk, and feel free to like, comment and subscribe. And we'll see you next time for another unboxing video.